Hey man, how are you?
What up, bro?
Good to see you, brother.
What you drinking on over there?
This is called water. I'm so glad you asked so that the judges don't, go too crazy.
You know how it can be. This is water too.
Oh, nice. Nice. I love it.
Man, you got my what shirt is that you have on, sir?
Purple rain, in honor of the purple one.
Yeah. Man.
I've had a more recent appreciation of him more than I ever have had over the past few years. I'm like, whoa, this guy was special. Like just digging deeper into, his story, his sound, and everything. So yeah, nice. I see. I always grew up Michael. When they said either one.
Yeah,
so it was Michael for me.
Yeah.
But recently Prince has just kind of shaken up another space for me, and it's pretty amazing.
that's what's up, man. Well, that already kicked things off on the right foot. I want to tell you first, I appreciate you for doing this.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for me to kind of dive into, the psyche of some of the artists that I admire and respect in this game that I feel like are doing it, doing a service, in their craft and in this industry. You can lose your way sometimes. So I appreciate you being among the first to join in, on this journey with me.
Nice. I was able to see an interview you did with my brother Kevin Ross, and I really, really dug that. I just checked it out. That was really good. I'm really proud of Kevin.
Yeah, me too.
My
Man,
fellow Berkeley brother.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to get into that too. So this is a coat, right? This is a jacket that I wore. And this was like
it matched my pants. Whoa.
So that was Grammys like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, at B Cox's brunch.
Oh,
and
yeah, Brian Michael Cox. He's such
and you were like,
that's another
man.
H-Town hero.
Yeah.
What's happening, Dolly?
Yo. You were like, yo, what's up, man? You were like, man, I like that jacket. That's cool. I was like, man, thank you, man. Appreciate it. I was here on my own. I had snuck in, bro. No lie.
That's super. That's super. You said you snuck.
I snuck in. Because you know how it is.
It was a beautiful time.
Yeah.
At that event was where I first met Maxwell. And that was an interesting encounter, but it was beautiful. It was super, super dope. And
yeah, man. I wanted to start things off by going into some of your background. And I do my research. I'm a music history dude, so something that I enjoy doing. So I was gonna ask you about coming from a large family. Did that breed any sense of competition in you, or feeling like, I need to find my
It definitely breeded a sense of healthy competition. I think you go on a journey of learning what is healthy and what is unhealthy, realizing that there's enough room for everybody, no matter how many people there are. There's enough space for everybody to shine. And if everybody's shining, is a whole lot of light to make sure we see where we're going. I definitely learned diversity with the big family. 10 siblings, blended family. That's pretty crazy. And then on my dad and my stepmom's side, it was 5 of us. So a total of 13 siblings is a lot to grow up with. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about sharing space and making room for other people. I learned a lot about embracing difference of opinion and realizing that, as long as it's healthy, welcome it on.
What has that done for your concept of family in general? Like your outlook on family? How has that shaped that?
Oh, I appreciate family so much. They're the elements that are there when it's a healthy family.
Okay.
When it's a healthy family.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying healthy absence of dysfunction.
Okay, because I was about to say,
Yeah, right. Because I need people to understand that there is no real normal family. But when there's love present, what it does is you're assured to have a cheering section, you know, when the rest of the world is silent, seemingly, you know. And you also have reminders to remind you who you are before the world got introduced to you. And so if it's healthy, they're going to steer you right back into alignment. And then we're ready to keep going. Yeah.
boom, boom. I love it. Okay, so you mentioned H-Town earlier, and
Yeah.
there's so many like amazing, talented people that come from Houston, and I wanted to dive into that for a second.
Yeah.
You went to a very prestigious performing arts high school,
Did.
HSPVA,
Yeah.
and I wanted to find
You've
out,
been doing research.
bro. You already know.
Uh-huh.
And you know, obviously, B. Cox, Robert Glasper, you know, Beyonce. You know, I wanted to find out
Latoya
from you.
Luckett. Yeah.
Right.
Lots of folk. Yeah.
I'm thinking about like how many different groups there might have been in that school. Like, were there different singing groups? Were people trying to kind of start on their thing back then?
There weren't a bunch of different singing groups. I remember a couple. I remember a girl group called Elite. And they were it was Valencia, Shadavia, and Victoria. Oh, and Tawana Rubin. That I remember a few, but I will say this: we did not have many fist fights in high school. Wow. Fighting was not normal. So the fighting, as crazy as this sounds, it sounds very glee-ish, but it was like sing-offs or like dance-offs. Like it wasn't, I promise you. And it was crazy because I went to performing arts magnet elementary and middle school, and then my last year of middle school, I had to go to this school called Welch Middle School. Okay. And that was the hood school. It was some talented folk, but it was hood, like for real hood. So when I was there, I remember like people be like, "Yo, who you looking at?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know." I mean, I was looking at you, but I didn't know that was a problem, you know. But then I had to toughen up. I had to assume the things that I learned from family, because there's 7 boys, you know, and you know, so I knew how to handle my own. But going to HSPVA, you know, there was really it was literally like industry stuff where like they would gossip and say this person, you know, rigged and audition and stuff. It was hilarious. We were famed. We were famed, and it was really hilarious. Imagine sing-offs. Like, you can't do that. Oh yes, I can. You know, it was hilarious. Yeah.
I'm imagining like Michael Jackson's Bad video like happening in every hallway.
And one of our teachers was one of the dancers from Bad. Oh, so wow. It was this school of like brilliantly talented folk that were also super smart, because you had to be both academically and creatively you know, intelligent. And so it was really hilarious, because we'd be using big words like perpetuating stereotypes, you know, but I'm not gonna have it. I'm not gonna It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Everybody will tell you, but it was a good time. The jazz cats were the cool cats, because they were the ones that found this herbal substance. I never had it, but they were
okay. Got you. Were they like super straight ahead when it came to jazz? Like they only cared about like...
Oh yeah. Robert, well, I didn't go during Robert Glasper and Beyonce, and then they were years ahead of me. But like my buddies Jameyer and Matthew Mullenweg, who happens to actually be the founder of WordPress. I don't know if you've ever heard of WordPress, but yeah. like they were just so, and I used to be like, yeah, that's a good stuff.
Like, yeah, man. Oh yeah, solid, man, solid. Wow. Okay, so the transition then from high school to college was you know, you kind of, it was like a larger version of something you had already experienced, right?
Right, and most of our heroes from HSPVA were the heroes of, Berkeley, Walter Smith, Kendrick Scott, and I mean, prior to that, I did an intensive with the Houston Grand Opera and also with Juilliard. So like I was already kind of immersed in this space of super talented, super gifted. And so it just for me challenged me to have to level up a whole lot more. I was like, oh shoot, I was, seen as one of the strongly talented in the community that I was in. And so then I'm like, oh shoot, it's a whole bunch of me's, like, oh shoot, they gotta be, and that's when I started really embracing rising up in what makes major. But we'll talk about that.
For sure. Well, you know what? You brought up Juilliard, so I was curious. With that experience with Juilliard, was there not any interest in Juilliard as well?
It was a short intensive for the winter season that I was brought into, and throughout my last semester of high school, a Professor Steve Smith was assigned to me, from Juilliard that, worked with me, a couple weekends out of each month. And I definitely thought Juilliard was what it was going to be. I definitely thought that's what it was. It was next. I was going to be the Black Pavarotti, non più dry, Parfelloni amoroso. I was listen, man, I was ready. I auditioned for the official program and they waitlisted me. It was the most devastating experience of my life because I had been so used to winning everything. Now, being waitlisted at Juilliard is different because you're waitlisted means you were top 10. They only accept 5. So that was different for me. And I'm talking about them only accepting 5, like 5 to 8 singers, period. It wasn't like they were accepting like tons of people, you know what I mean? So it was a very interesting an interesting space, but I had just been accepted into Manhattan School of Music and the New England Conservatory, but Juilliard was it for, I was like, if I'm not getting a Juilliard, like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, if you wait till the spring, we'll be able to enroll you. And I'm just like, you don't get it. You told me I was waitlisted. So imagine being raised on winning everything and getting that news after you've done their program and all eyes were on you and they flew me out there. Like it wasn't like, so it was just an interesting space. But I remember taking a semester off because I was devastated. And that's Shekinah. Shekinah. This is why I love you. This is why I love you. Shekinah, I love you, sis. I love you. Happy birthday to you. She's a queen. Anyway, listen, so I take a semester off and then I ended up doing some community college totally outside of my world, but American Idol and Music World, which was
Matthew Knowles, right?
They were I was an artist of interest that they were about to sign, so I was like, well, you know what? Forget Juilliard, I'm about to be signed. And I got a lot of the run around with that experience, but it was incredible. I auditioned for American Idol. The guy told me he says, that was amazing. Next. That crushed me. So I said, listen, this ain't my life. I'm not that guy. And so Berkeley had been knocking on my door and I accepted the scholarship to Berkeley. Imagine that. I decided to accept the scholarship to Berkeley. And then I got to Berkeley. Yeah, we can talk about it. I don't know if any more questions. I can keep going.
Oh, no, I love it. I just wanted to say what's up. You got people checking in from Nigeria, Portugal, France, Brazil. So,
hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. It's a lot of beautiful people that are on board of the major train, and I'm super grateful. I see you, Jonathan, but I'm I'm really grateful. This has been an interesting journey. Like I shared, I know what it's like to experience rejection, even when you are seemingly the dopest in the room.
Yeah.
American Idol rejected me twice. The second time, I made it all the way to the finals, and they had me winning, and then they had me not getting it. And I was told I was too polished for the show.
Wow.
The Voice um, uh, uh, invited me to private auditions twice. I
Okay.
got declined there. But you know what was one of my redemption moments for The Voice was when they called to get my permission to use my song
Woo!
for one of their contestants. So I was like, all right, God, I see what you're doing.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
circle for sure. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Berkeley,
Yes, sir.
I saw you were student body president at
True.
Berkeley. Okay, so it's one thing to go to Berkeley. I hold Berkeley in a very high regard. Anybody who I know,
As you should.
you know, everybody that I know who's gone to Berkeley, who it's just cool and they're talented and everything like that. But I was curious if becoming student body president gave or added a sense of responsibility and pressure to what was already, you know, a matriculation process at Berkeley for you.
I've always been an overachiever.
Okay.
So for
Yeah.
me, it was like, what other work must I do? And I also became, I ran for student government president, which is student body president, because I wanted to make certain that the voice of the students was heard, because all of these different policies and these orders and flows were being crafted and decided on by people that were not in the experience as a student. And I'm like, that's beautiful and I appreciate it, but you won't be able to truly implement policy that represents us unless we're included in the narrative. Nice. And so unless if you're going to tell our story, allow us to also be a part of the storytelling. And so I literally ran on a campaign of let your voice be heard. And, nice. And everybody was like, I made you cool, you know? And so I took it, I ran with it. Shout out to a guy named Brandon Primus, who was very instrumental in getting me involved in the student government in general, because no one knew that it really existed, because everybody was either going to school or gigging. So the extra stuff, they were like, huh? You know, right. But yeah, but I really, I loved that opportunity to serve the student body.
So post Berkeley, did you immediately go to LA or did you go somewhere else? Or
no, I stayed in LA for like a year and a half. I mean, I stayed in Boston for like a year and a half, and I worked for a state senator. I worked for the Mayor's Initiative for After School Programming. Wow. Because I was like, I'm going to be a famous singer and a philanthropist. And so I was building this story of community outreach and development. I remember every time I would work on something in politics, they would be like, okay, that's cool, but can you sing something? And so I ended up singing for like the inaugurations of the governor. And I remember when Barack Obama, you know, was going for president, they had me do the national anthem for that. So I'm like, okay, cool, you know? And that was the kick that said, listen, get to LA where you know you're supposed to be and pursue the dream, live the dream.
So why not New York? Why LA?
New York, too busy.
Gotcha.
Too busy. I'll get there. I'll go there to do work, but you can't ever rest.
Yeah.
You can't find a pace in New York. It's literally like go, 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 next, next, next. All right, sleep, next, next, next. And I'm like, nah, that's not me. I'm from Houston, Texas. We sleep sometime. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yo, I love it, bro. Let's talk about regimen. Do you find yourself with the same regimen that you had earlier on, or have you fine-tuned it? Is it based on when you know you have your next performance, or do you have a steady thing that you that you do for those singers out there that might be watching?
Now, I will say that generally when I have a gig coming up, that's when I prepare mostly for.
Okay.
I try not to disrespect my instrument because I've learned that that's essential, you know, for the longevity. So, you know, plenty of hydration with water. Alcohol dries you out, people, so chill out with all that stuff. Um, uh, um, yeah, I definitely can be a bit stricter than I have been. Um, Quarantine has got me kind of loosened up, you know, but I take this thing seriously because I want to deliver at the highest level that I possibly can. Um, the highest authentic level that I possibly can. And I think when you put in the work of preparation, when it's time to step into the ring, it's just, you know,
Yeah.
celebration, elevation, and, you know, vibration. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go into major. You spoke before about becoming major, and
Mm-hmm.
you know I know from personal experience that when you're on a trajectory and you face a little adversity, you have to dig in a lot more to really know that you're sure about what it is that you're doing. So I know that that has to do with it, but I want to allow you to elaborate on that. But my mom's gonna kill me if I don't ask certain questions. She's like, so she's like, "Can you ask him about the period after major?" And then,
That
and
y'all
then,
didn't put on the promo, but it was so clap. Y'all were so well executed. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let them have a pass, but we're
I
gonna talk
saw it.
about that period. So I'm
I
glad your
saw it.
mama asked.
Yeah, I need my mom's gonna be like, "Details, son."
Listen,
So,
listen, and you know, shout out to your mother, to your queen, because the period is a byproduct of something that I learned that my mother had intended for me in my destiny. She got pregnant with me at what was considered an inconvenient time. She was just about to finish college. And she already had my brother out of wedlock, so she was already embarrassed about, God dog it, I'm pregnant again. You know, I'm here, and so she considered abortion. And so on her way to the abortion clinic, the tire goes flat, and so she has to deal with getting the tire fixed. So she misses the appointment at the abortion clinic. She goes back home 2 weeks later because the pressure and the shame had kind of built up even more. And in nearly the same spot, a different tire completely busted. And so she was like, "All right, God, I hear you. I hear you." And so she said, "I'm going to keep this child. But if I keep this child and if I name him Major, I pray that he makes a major impact on the world." And so she decides to
wow.
tell me this story once I get to college. Now, I had gone throughout my whole childhood with major pain, major minor, major league, and I'm like, man, why can't I have a normal name? And she lets me know right before I graduate, because I was the first of the 10 to graduate to even go to college, and she told me this, and that's when I said, I'm going to embrace my name, because I used to hide. I was like, call me choir boy, because I thought I was going to be a gospel artist before. And they used to call me choir boy. I'm like, call me choir boy, call me something else. I went middle name, half of my middle name is Ray. So I was like, call me Ray. I hated Major because it just didn't make sense that I would have such a weird name. And so I embraced it. And I said, I'm going to capitalize every letter and put a period behind that thing, because I absolutely am going to own what has been given to me and rise up in it. So, yeah.
Wow. How does that? I'm assuming, but it seems like that translates to how you've been able to present what it is that you do, you know, to the public, which is something that obviously anyone who's been in the music industry long enough to kind of go forward in it, they deal with moments where they are wondering, how far am I willing to compromise what I feel like my vision is for my career in
Yeah.
order to attain this perceived success or perceived fame or whatever the case may be. So walk us through how you got to really that aha moment where you said, you know what, this is me. This is who I am musically. You know what I'm saying? How did that translate?
It's a compilation of journey and moments that that informed where I am now. Because if anybody listens to me, they can tell I come from the church. If they listen to the message, they can tell I know who God is for myself. If they hear it, they can hear jazz, they can hear some folk, they can hear, oh, this guy's is technically trained, like, because his precision and his the space. And you know, I've been told I'm a smart singer, you know, where my choices fall in places that authentically meet where the heart has been needed to be touched. And so, and I think that that comes by way of me embracing, yo, this is all of me, versus just trying to select a thing that I think is on trend and is going to, you know, compete with something that's already working. I say, let me take all of this, live with this, and rise up in it, because you honor your commitment to God, not to man. That's right. That's Silas, my my manager. Shout out to Silas. I decided just to embrace it all, man. It's been an interesting space, from gospel to big band. They used to call me the crooner. Big band. You know, and now it's here. Harmony Samuel's my producer.
Yeah.
My big brother is a genius at saying, he said, listen, you're all of this. So that's what it's going to be. Period.
Dope.
And we're going to make sure it's produced in excellence so that when it is heard, it can't be denied. And so that's what was super dope about it, because at first you know, you try to literally chase trend, and it's a crazy thing to do, because you'll never catch up with the authenticity of it if it ain't true to you. So, you know, my thing is realizing that your authentic distinction is your superpower. And once you rise up in that, you can't be stopped. Who's doing it like Beyonce? Who does it like Brandy? Although there are thousands of people that try to sound like her, and not try to sound like her, that are inspired by her, so they end up doing it. Who did it like Whitney Houston? Who does it like Bruno? Even though Bruno is pulling inspirations, Bruno's got his thing.
Yep, it's true.
You know what I mean? Chris Brown, who did it like him? Usher, you know what I mean? Yeah. Cameron, Corvet.
There's a, you know what? It's so interesting, because I grew up, you know, just immersing myself in a lot of different things. And I remember being a kid, my parents would only let us watch like Nick at Night, like back in the day.
Y'all were rich. Y'all had cable. I love my rich friends when they like, yeah, we watch Nick at Night. I'm like, oh, nice. What happened?
So after a certain time, right, they only would show like old school sitcoms.
Yes.
So I got a lot of like my moral values from watching, like, you know, all that stuff. And I was going to ask you, there's kind of like the way that you incorporate movement into what it is that you do. It reminds me of, there aren't many people who can stand up and sing, but at the same time incorporate movement in a way that doesn't take away from what's being delivered vocally. It reminded me, so the record you have, the Better With You In It record.
Ah, yes.
So when you're moving and stuff like that, it definitely gave me a reminder of that lead of, you know, in front of a big band.
Yeah.
The Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire type of vibe. I was curious if any of that era has been an influence on you.
Yeah, you heard me say big band. Like that was my world, and I love it. And when it's interesting, because people ask me who my inspiration is, they hear Why I Love You, so they're like, "Ooh, 90s R&B," and I'm like, "Okay, let me help you out."
Yeah,
it was Nat King Cole. You know, it was Donny Hathaway. It was the Rat Pack. It was Sammy Davis Jr. It was who else is there? It was Stevie. You know, those were the people that inspired me vocally. And
Yeah.
John Legend came, and you know, I remember listening to some Usher, but I couldn't sing like Usher, so it wasn't like, you know, I can really mimic that. But I took notes. Boys to Men, I took notes, and I mean, it's just an interesting space because it seems like I am from an era of the golden years, like, and I'm just here on earth to still speak and keep a reverence going to those years of the artist, of the entertainer, you
Yeah.
know. And so
Yeah.
it's a pretty amazing thing. Yeah.
That's what's up. How did you meet Harmony, by the way? Like what was that connection? How'd that connection happen?
Dope story. My big brother, Rodney Jerkins, whom I met by way of me being student body president of Berkeley. We were
Nice.
at the was it the Gospel Music Workshop? And he was at Kiara Sheard's CD release party, and I went up to him, and I used to use that. That was my calling card, student body president. And someone says, yes, John Legend and Michael Jackson legs. Michael Jackson, I'm surprised I didn't even say Michael because that's my hero. But anyway, I meet Rodney at Kiara Sheard's showcase when she first came out with her first ever project. And I say, would you be interested in coming to Berklee College of Music? And he's like, I'd be down. Here's my card. And it's his cell number. And I'm like, this is Rodney Jerkins. This is crazy. And so we connected. I got him to Berklee, him and his lovely wife. We became really, really close, like literally like brothers. And I got to LA. I get to LA and we just connected. And in his basement, he had a bunch of producers that he was, you know, that he had signed under him. And Harmony was one of them. I remember going down to the basement area, and Harmony was working on something. He's like, yeah, I got this for Fantasia. And I was like, oh, you're special, special. And I remember telling Rodney, because everybody thought I was like some rich industry dude. They didn't realize I was broke, just dreaming hard. And so I said, Rodney, keep an eye on him. He's got next. Rodney kept me around because I was not a yes man. I kept, you know, I always told him what I felt, even when he'd be like, I didn't ask you, son. You know, like, but you know, fast forward like a year later, I see Harmony at church. We reconnect, and he's like hearing me worship in the congregation, and he's like, oh, that's what it is. I tell him, listen, I'm working on this music. I was signed to an indie that was pretty lavish, but we never put anything out. And I said, I just need somebody to hear the sound and help me get it out. And he was like, say no more. This is what this is supposed to be. And he was the one producer that fully understood me. You know, shout out to the rest of them that showed a lot of love and tried to start, you know, some things, but Harmony fully understood, and now we're here.
Wow. So what's the creative process like then with Harmony? I mean, it seems as though
he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
I remember somebody told me, two of my friends, they actually are they're actually writers signed to Rodney, and I think they were talking about a session with Harmony, and they were talking about him on bass, and they were like, yo, he probably played the bass 20 times and killed it every time. It was like, nah, let me do it.
Perfectionist. Just like me, I'm an excellentist. Because really for me, it's not about it being perfect. It's just about it being the best from the best it could possibly be authentically. because as I also vocal produce, and I vocal produced Ariana Grande and Nathan Sykes and LaPortia Renee, lots of different people, and written for different people. And the way in which you phrase a thing can change the way in which people receive it. True. Like I can say, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Or I can be like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. And that changes everything. So for me, I'm all about finding that special magic space that will live on forever every time they hear it. And then they're like, this is why I love you. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Look, you about to have them go crazy over here now. Hold up now. So listen, let's talk about gospel roots. And this is just a straight shoot from the hip question for you. Do you feel like there's enough grace for artists that are rooted in gospel to express themselves in secular music? Like I know that, I mean, I grew up in an AME church, and, you know, some of my friends who've grown up in different, you know, denominations, let's say, they shared experiences with me about even producers that I know who feel in some way conflicted. There's that, you know, that sense of confliction about being able to show that love, you know, outside of gospel music. I feel like you've been able to do it with what you've done with your music. You've been able to represent yourself in a way that is unique, but I think it's very much so needed. So, but I was curious on the musical side, having roots in gospel, how has that been? What do you feel like there are restrictions, and how do you navigate that?
Yes, there are restrictions, there are judgments, there are pressures. But when you come from it, humanity's always going to have opinion. But when you know you are rightly aligned with what the divine has called you to, then it becomes noise that can't do anything. Yeah. It's just noise. It's kind of like when you walk into a nursery, you're going to hear a bunch of babies crying. So I'm going to walk through knowing that there's going to be noise, but I'm going to still do what I need to do in the space that I'm in. The church made me. I make it a point to honor, you know, my relationship with God as best as I can, as authentically as I can. I think some of the difficulty is, so when people get saved, they get saved from ways that often in secular music are celebrated. Okay. And if you are singing music and a message that celebrates what they've been saved from, of course there's going to be resistance, there's going to be a judgment, there's going to be an intolerance to it. But my thing is, why not show the people how to be a God representative on this side? Yeah. My thing was, I remember saying to God, if I'm going to cross over, I'm going to take the crossover with me. Ooh. And so for me, that's what my representation is. Like, nobody's telling me that it ain't God, because I know every single lyric is God lyric. I can back it by Bible. I can, you know, every song, I have a song called Serendipity, and it's when the beauty of love and life come together despite the uncertainty of of your circumstances. All things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and called according to his purpose. That's Romans 8:28.
8:28.
You feel
Yes,
me?
sir.
And so my thing is, when has the glory and the impact of God ever been restricted to a building and to a genre? If you think for a moment that that's what God's pocketing, what he's enveloping his glory into, you've missed it. We have assignment to be light. And there's ways to be light without using all of the vernacular that only the church knows, or all of the vernacular that the world knows that the church knows, but ain't touching it because their last experience with that vernacular wasn't consistent with the integrity of God. So my thing is, let's just rise up in being light, and people will be attracted to that. Michael Jackson rose up into light. People were attracted to that. Prince did the same. People are attracted to that. You know what I mean? Major's doing that. People are attracted to that. It's not as easy because it's not a fully chartered lane, but I got to salute people like Chance the Rapper. I got to salute folks like Molly Music. I got to salute PJ Morton. I got to salute the people that have, what's her name? Tori Kelly. You know, I got to salute you, because they're ones that are helping to charter the lane that Christ can be represented on the other side of this thing too.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Look, I see the comments, everybody. Hey, man, that's what we need. That's what we need to get through this, man, for sure, man. Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Okay, so as it relates to artistic freedom, do you feel like that's something that's easy to come by? And what would you say to someone out there who's trying to be their authentic self in the midst of navigating the music industry? Any advice for someone in that part of their journey?
Okay, artistic freedom, everybody has it. We have the freedom and the liberty to do everything that we want to do. We can say we have the freedom of speech. We can say a lot of things that we want to say, but you have to be mindful that if you take advantage completely of that freedom and that liberty, there's a responsibility that has to take place. And you have to remember that not everybody, not every single audience is ready to receive everything you're dishing, everything that you're capable of giving. So it's a thing called pace. Pace is grace. Understanding that if you are super crazy talented, you can play this, do that, do this. There's only so much that can fit into a cup that people are going to drink from.
Mm.
I can't possibly, fit every single thing that I have into the cup that I'm expecting someone to drink from. So I'll give them a little bit of this, and I'll give them a little bit of this. But whatever I give them, I got to make sure it's good.
Mm.
Freedom is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But if it's not harnessed in goodness, if it's not harnessed in excellence, it's a waste of liberty. And so my thing is to all of the creatives out there, be free on your own time. Identify what you think is most necessary to share first. Prioritize that thing. And once you gain the trust of the listener, of the new audience, you then can share something else. And then you can share something else. And then you can share something else. I eventually got the trust of my audience with, this is why I love you. And then I got, I just want to be honest. And then I got, my life is better with you in it. And now I'm going to have some other stuff. That's some crazy stuff.
I believe it.
I've gained the trust. I'm gaining trust by staying consistent, staying excellent, and making certain that I'm responding to what I perceive as a need in the earth. Do not just throw out what has already been thrown out, because at the end of the day, you will literally only be known as the copy.
Mm.
And that's a waste of existence. That's a waste of existence. That's a disregard to who we were made to be.
So how do you bring the excellence then out of someone else? Let's say you're collaborating with someone there's a band member, there's somebody who's around you? How do you do that?
I'm always about sharing the space. I'm always about helping them identify what makes them special. If you're playing in my band, you got to be special. And I'm not talking about like, just, some crazy, freak of nature special. Although I do have some folks in my band that are freak of nature brilliant. But I'm wanting to identify, there may be a charm factor that you have that when you stand on the stage, your smile while you play will capture every single heart. And they're like, I can trust that. I have that charm factor. I know that my smile does it. You know what I mean? You got it. It's a thing. It's a thing. So you lean into it. You lean into that distinction, and it just works. And so for me, with my crew or with other artists that I'm working with, I say, listen, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation about what makes you you. And what do you think that that you haven't heard someone else talk about? And if you've identified it, and sometimes it'll be very few people that have talked about it, or you probably don't know of somebody that's talked about it, tap into that, lean into that, and start having that conversation. Mine was hope. I said, I'm going to talk about hope because I know that so many people think that there is no hope when circumstances don't look possible or circumstances don't look as bright as they wish they would. My thing is to stir up hope again. I want to transact hope and love on earth as it is in heaven as much as I can. And so for me, I'm leaning into that with every song, with every moment, be it TV, be it whatever. And, it's been working for me. It's a uphill, but sometimes I feel like God is just carrying me. And I'm just like, okay, this is good. This is good. When I get out of my way, when I get humanity out the way and allow divinity to take its rightful place, we start doing some things.
Wow. Man, I'm not done, but I did want to take a second to just acknowledge everyone who is really appreciating what you're giving. I mean, I know that I'm getting a lot from it in terms of just that sense of rejuvenation, in my journey. So I know everyone else is.
So let's take a pause for that.
Yes.
Take a deep breath in. Let it out. Take one more. Let it out. You belong here, man. Take a pause. Receive what I'm saying. You belong here. You belong here. And you're going to find your rhythm. You're finding it all the more. You're finding your rhythm. The thing that people may say is too much may very well be the very thing that is your thing. That's your superpower. You're going to be all right. You belong here. There's plenty of space in the sky for your wings to fly, for my wings to fly, for the listeners on here to fly. I don't want you to think for a moment that your time is up. I don't want you to think for a moment that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. These are the moments that God designed to remind you just how necessary you are. You thought you were interviewing me, but he said, no, Major, I need you to hold a mirror up to him so he can see how dope he is.
Man.
All of those legends around you in the background, they informed you and they reminded you and they're showing you who you are. So honor their legacy by rising up in that. Own it. And the right moment, the right opportunity is going to say, yes, I need that. And it's going to be beautiful from here on out. It's going to be beautiful.
I received that, yo. I received that 100,000%. Before IG cuts me off,
they're not going to cut you off. You have 8 minutes.
Can we do a little bit of a part two? Would you? I have like 3 more questions,
Yeah.
maybe 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
I just want to say to everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is just part 1 of Candid with Major. It's just a lot of good stuff, a lot of information, and I don't want to stop right here. So we're going to jump out, jump back in. I'm going to post part 1 so the latecomers who are just kind of getting off of their virtual jobs can tune in. And I want to keep going a little bit longer. I appreciate your time, so I definitely want to dive into a little bit more, make sure people are getting all of this. So
yeah, shout out to the Bahamas. Hey, batter, eat. All of you all beautiful people. Be encouraged, y'all.
Yes,
We belong.
come right
we
back.
belong. All
come
right,
right
we'll be
back.
right back, y'all.
All right. I'll see you in a second, bro. Yo.
Hey, brother, we back.
We back. Part two. For those just tuning in, I am Candid with Major, all caps with a period. Don't forget that. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more. This is going to be. It's not in any way a loaded question, but it's something I want to know from you personally, because I watched all your videos and the way that you present yourself, you know, not only does it show your love for God and shining your light, but it also is a great representation of being a Black man.
Thank you,
which I think is a little lost in the industry in terms of what that means or what type of responsibility that is. Because I mean, shoot, I'm from Cincinnati and I went to private school for a while, and a lot of people informed their opinions about Black people in general as well as other minorities based on that one or those 2 people that they happen to go to school with.
Yeah.
So I know there are a lot of people who don't even have that experience and who are basing what they're informing their decisions about cultures based on what they see, you know. So I wanted to find out about, you know, how do you feel about the portrayal of the African American man, let's say, in videos or media or anything like that? And do you feel like you have a responsibility to present in a certain way?
I'll say this. I definitely feel that media has done an inadequate job at portraying the whole of the Black male experience.
Okay.
I think that it has many layers, just like with any other culture. And I think that every single layer deserves story and narrative being rightly shared. I'd be crazy to act like there is no such thing as, you know, folks, gangsters, you know what I mean? I grew up right next door to some, you know what I mean? I'd be crazy to act like there's no such thing as drug dealers, but I'd also be crazy to act like there's no such thing as CEOs and doctors and lawyers that are African Americans. I'm an alpha. You know, we're the greatest fraternity known to man, full of nothing but the greatest. Oh, man, you would be a Kappa. But yeah, I think that the whole of the story needs to be shared, and that's what makes it frustrating, because you get these layers of the other cultures. Let's just say white culture, where they show all the different layers. Like you've seen the poor white, you've seen the rich white, you've seen the, you know, the one of great integrity and the ones not so much. But with African Americans, you don't see that diversity shared as much. And so I think that it deserves a better light. I think it's I think one of the things that we have to realize, and me knowing you're in a fraternity, I do know that you have a servitude for the betterment of your community. And for us, we understand that if we are the ones that have identified a problem, 9 times out of 10, we have identified ourselves as a part of that solution. So it's on us to make certain that we take on the mantle and the responsibility to present in a way that we want to see ourselves better presented. You know, I can't knock some of these rappers that did not have those examples more immediately present in their lifetime. You know, I did. I did. And so for me, I have a responsibility to rise up in that truth. It says the truth makes you free. And it also says, and I'm also realizing that your authentic self is what's going to cause the world to embrace you or to cause another to embrace you. And so that's why you see some of these, you know, super ratchet folk still winning in a sense, because that's their authentic selves. But if you know a narrative that is authentic to you, that is more of integrity, that has a more aligned moral compass, rise up in that. Be the difference, be consistent, and then people will believe that. Enough people believing that will make other people believe it. Then the world has this example readily available, and they're not like, oh, that part is missing in the story. Yeah.
Mm. Can you take me through the creative process for, well, I guess the creative process in general, but with you and Harmony, but specifically, because I know people are going to want to know, specifically the creative process for Why I Love You?
Well, it started with a chicken salad. Chicken salad sandwich. Chicken salad sandwich. I want a chicken salad sandwich because I'm hungry. That was mad high, but it was still nonetheless. I was like, why did I start so high? But anyway, Pocket Queen knows.
Pocket Queen.
Chicken salad sandwich. I was on set with my brother Jor-El Quinn for a web series called Flawed, and we were inside of the green room, the holding room, with the rest of the cast. And Jason Frederick said, "What y'all want for lunch?" It was small budget. He said, "What you want for lunch?" We got sandwiches. And I said, they're like, "We got ham, we got that." I said, Jor-El's playing on the piano like this lullaby music, and I just said, "Chicken salad sandwich. I want a chicken salad sandwich because I'm hungry." And they filmed it, and we posted it on Instagram, and the people went crazy on Instagram. And this was like one of my first Instagram viral moments. People like, yo, and I'm feeling it. Harmony hits me and says, "Yo, why where did that song come from?" And I said, "You like it, right?" He said, "Yeah, it's dope." And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna probably try to submit it to Chick-fil-A or something." And he's like, he says, "Nah, take it down." And I said, "Well, why, hold on for a moment. I'm a grown man. You don't just tell me to take nothing down." And he said, "Nah, for real, take it down. It's a hit." And I said, "Okay." He says, "We're gonna write a love song to that." And he says, "Come to the studio." And words started flowing. I said, "God, I want to sing about love in a way that shows people your heart for us and the way in which you want us to deal with each other." And so I was like, yo, let me write a song that shows love on earth as it is in heaven. And so I knew what heartbreak felt like. I hadn't known yet what love felt like in a super romantic sense. I knew what I wanted, and I knew what the dysfunction of it was. And so for me, I was just like, listen, I'm going to write these words, and it's going to speak to self-love, it's going to speak to God love, and it's going to speak to relational love, so that we can get back healthy again. Because generally when you hear these songs, these love songs are one-sided, but love is not one-sided. Love is established on reciprocity. And if both people are giving, nobody's left empty. And so I said, let me make sure I sing about that. And I'm telling you, it started coming. And sure enough, the rest is history. I thank God, because that's the one song that I have a gig in a few minutes, in about an hour, you know, to get to virtually just off that song. So, you know, yeah, there it is.
Wow. I know people are like,
Jeremy.
wow.
Right.
Yo, I remember seeing a video of you performing like right in front of Halle Berry. Do you remember that? And listen,
bro, I'm
first,
engaged right now, but I'm engaged right now. So I'm gonna get my Halle Berry's out, you know, now, you know, but listen,
bro,
when Halle Berry came to my Christmas concert, shout out to my friend Ogie, Ogie, the yogi. She does yoga and everything, but she's from Houston. And she says, listen, my friend Halle Berry is coming. She said the full name. And I'm like, I had to compose myself. I remember being at the barber shop. Shout out to barbers. I can't wait. I can't wait to get a haircut, man. You should see this fro underneath this hat, man. But I remember getting that call while I was at the barbershop. Kelvin Trill was cutting me, and he's like, what? I said, Halle Berry is going to show up tonight. And I said, and inside, I'm like, Halle Berry, you know? And I was just like, I didn't want to let her I didn't want her to think that I was too hyped. Although I knew she said the full name on purpose. She said, will there be seats? And I said, inside, I'm like, you know good and well there's going to be a seat for Halle Berry. Look, Halle Berry can take my seat. You know, I'll sit on the floor. But then she says, hey, Angie. And then she says, Angie's an incredible singer, incredible voice. She says, okay, cool. I said, yeah, I'll have a seat for you and your guest. I never said Halle Berry's name again. We get to the show, and I'm in the back room, and I get the text, Halle Berry's here. Now, the show had a lot of really cool industry folks, but Halle Berry, you know, she hits a little different for us because puberty knew Halle Berry.
Yes, sir. And knew her well.
and so I said, she comes into they're like, can Halle come speak to you? She wants to say hi to you. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right, cool. She can come to the back. And I'm in the room and everybody's like, what? I said, Halle Berry's about to come back here, y'all. So just calm down. They're like, we're calm. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, okay. So she comes back there. I got my composure and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. And she says, listen, your song means so much to me. And I'm like, oh man, so many people are embracing Why I Love You. And she says, no, not that one. I like that one, but it's that honest. She says, I've been listening to it on repeat for the past 3 weeks, just nonstop. It just speaks to my heart. And I'm like, Halle Berry. And I said, get your composure, man. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, man, that song is really special. And, you know, I hope tonight really touches your heart. You know, I had to get back into, you're the hope dealer, man. Don't get too hype. I said, it's going to touch your heart. I'm here to, you know, to encourage you. And I just really hope you get something tonight. We have the night. I sing my songs and I'm watching her clap with everybody else. But then when Honest hits, Halle Berry is singing along. I'm watching Halle Berry sing along to my song. But I'm keeping my composure. But she giving me that motivation just to go. And I'm singing this song like I've never sang before. I'm like, I've been trying to be perfection when broken is what makes it. You know, I'm going. And then I get to the last part. I just want to be honest. Oh. And I said, let me go to Halle and speak to her. Because in all sincerity, I have a part of me that I'm often led to the heart cry. I hear it when I'm on stages, when I'm in moments, when I'm in sessions, like I hear the heart cry.
Mm.
And so I detect it and I go to it. And so I was like, she's dealing with some stuff. Let me speak to her. Let me speak to her heart, from heart to heart. If you come from heart, you'll reach heart. That's the tool. That's the secret to all of you entertainers. Come from heart, you will reach heart. Facts every single time. If it comes from anywhere else, don't expect for it to authentically be received.
Mm.
But anyway, I get to her and I'm just pouring and she's weeping and she grabs me and just leans into, and I'm like, so humanity, a part of me is like, Halle Berry done leaned into me. And another part is, remember your assignment.
Mm.
So assignment rose up. I sang to her heart and she's embracing me. And after she said in my ear, I am going to help you however I can. And, you know, we haven't had too much of an engagement, but she's been very encouraging. She gets on live. She says, she posts the video and she says, this song, this Major, have you heard of Major? He's amazing. She says, last night he rearranged my life.
Woo!
Man.
Bro, now go back to that pubescent Jew. Like,
Halle Berry. Bro, listen. So these are the moments that I share because you want to encourage people, because I'm not signed to a major label right now. I'm signed to an independent, and it's hard as an independent. Oftentimes we don't have those curated purchase moments. Not saying that all people that are major label have these curated moments, but much of them are, because that's the business. These curated moments where they're like, okay, I'm going to have this person show up to this at this moment. You're going to do this, and it's going to be a story. When God says it's going to happen, he is not waiting on the resources of anybody else. He's only dependent on your yes. Once you say yes, you have then been chosen, and everything you need will find you. Everything you need will find you. And that's been the story of my life. Every single need has found me.
So, I mean, how do you
be
even
encouraged,
come behind
bro.
Halle Berry?
Just try. I know, right? That's great.
I want to ask you about, you know, you're a man of many talents. I want to ask you about the acting side of Major. I want to ask you about Star and how that happened. I watched a few scenes. I'm like, look, there you go. Lock right in.
You see what I'm saying? Everything you need, the desires of your heart, they will find you.
Mm-hmm.
Just say yes, show up in excellence. It will find you. That opportunity came at a very low time while everything was high, seemingly from the outside perspective. And so for me, I'm like, yo, I have the opportunity to be on TV, which is something I've been working for. I studied theater as long as I studied music. So when I got that, it was crazy. Ask your question so then I can continue, because I can go. You make it easy to flow.
I've already asked it. I want to know I want to know about this. Yes.
Okay. So the last week, it was the top of December. Honest had done what it was doing. I say I'm going to go on a vacation for the first time ever without it being connected to music. Because, you know, generally my vacations were gigs. So I'm, you know, just stay an extra day. I had enough money this time to go to Hawaii. And I went to Hawaii, and I spent some time out there just to clear my mind and to see creation do its thing without my help.
Okay.
And I saw creation exist, and I saw creation be, and I saw how the wind still blew, the waves still crashed, the fish still swam, the sun still shined, and I'm still breathing. And so I had to realize that the creator, I had to realize my place in creation, and that while those things are doing what they're doing, I've got to simply be what I'm to be. And so God cleared my mind, and I said, God, I'm taking my hands off the wheel. You got to take me wherever I got to go next. I was frustrated with the way certain things were happening with my next after the success of Why I Love You and things. And that's when I find out the day I get back, my Why I Love You went gold. I then find out a couple days later, they're considering you for a star. Would you be interested? Yes. And then a few days later, this is all in 1 week, I find out I was nominated for a Grammy for Honest. And so the moment I decided to put anxiety to bed, because anxiety is really desiring something that hasn't yet, desiring or the fear of something that hasn't yet happened. You know, and there's no way that you can make anxiety real. It can't produce anything real until you decide to make that your narrative. And for me, if it's not yet, that's not my narrative that I want. That ain't the narrative that I want. And so, man, it was crazy. I get on set finally with Star, meet Queen Latifah. I remember 3 years before that, when I met her for the first time with Stevie Wonder, who heard of Why I Love You and, you know, showed a lot of love. And she knew of me through a song called Better With You in It. She didn't remember me from the Stevie Wonder moment. That's another thing for people. These celebrities don't always remember us. So stop getting mad when they don't remember. I was the girl that came up. I had that red cup. Stop doing that. People do not remember. Trust me, when they meet so many people, they don't always remember. But anyway, I get on set. She embraced me. I find out that Patti LaBelle is going to be my my great aunt, well, eventually my grandmother, but she's, you know, Patti LaBelle was somebody that became like a godmother to me already. Brandy, I met already, and she embraced me. And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. My brother, Luke James, was, you know, very instrumental in me even getting the part because he put in a good word for me. But it was just amazing. Wow. I got to live and thrive in a space that I had been dreaming about. And it couldn't have been better because it was literally about Rashad was, you know, from the church, warring with being, you know, secular mainstream. It was really dope. So I got to really rise up into that character. And it ended up getting me an Image Award nomination for outstanding guest role, you know. So that was pretty dope. I was up against Blair Underwood and Sanaa Lathan and Kelly Rowland and what's my guy? From the Carmichael Show. And he used to be in Keenan. He used to be on Living Color. David Allen Greer. So yeah, it was pretty dope to be in that company. But it's
Wow. I'm not gonna hold you, but I am gonna ask you about what's next. What you have coming up? What are you working on? What can everybody out there who's rocking with Major and riding they're along on the journey with you, what can they look forward to in the future from you?
We have some music that we've been working on that is coming next. June is going to be a beautiful month. Please stay tuned. This shirt kind of hints at it a little bit. It's going to be really, really special. Stay tuned. Keep praying for me. As much as I deal hope, oftentimes I'm challenged with having to, take what I give, so I have to be encouraged myself. I have to encourage myself a lot. I'm really excited about the new normal for a lot of us, because I think what quarantine has done is it's shaken the foundations of the stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it has allowed us to equitably move and thrive and grow as long as we show up.
Yes.
So my challenge to to everybody that's going to see this, that's seeing this now, is to show up in excellence, to stay ready. Stay ready. Stay ready, because when opportunity knocks, it does not knock and then wait around for you to get ready. It only embraces the one ready to go.
Yes.
And I don't want us to miss it. I don't want us to miss it.
Man. Oh, man. You know, we could probably talk for days. I can already tell. And I look forward to doing just that again, my brother.
Yeah.
I really, really, really appreciate you. I know
Before I go, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to do? What's the ideal goal for you?
Oh, Major, it's been a journey. You talked about the one thing I really love is you talking about your experience traversing and trying different things, because I've done some things similarly, and it's like competition. You know, I did The Voice, I've done things like that, and that's a whole nother story. But for me, I've always been a guitar player and a singer, you know.
Oh, nice.
And you know, that's really just what my bag is. You know what I'm saying? I've traversed a couple of things being in Atlanta. You know, urban is so here, you know, that a lot of times people used to categorize what I was doing and say, I don't get it. You know, I'm like, what don't you get? You know what I'm saying? I'm playing the guitar and singing. You think I'm talented, you think I'm amazing, but what don't you get? So needless to say, just being independently minded, you know, I started getting more focused on writing my way into the industry, if you will. So I was fortunate enough to write for a lot of people that I grew up listening to, but maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I ended up composing and writing a single for Sting, who was somebody I've always looked up to. So
he called me a beautiful artist. Keep going.
I
love Sting.
Yeah, he's amazing. So I ended up writing a single for him and Shaggy, which ended up being released. And
oh, are you the one that wrote that one that they got the Grammy for? Oh, that's lit. That's lit. You see how small this world is?
Yeah.
So keep going, keep going.
So that kind of was the first thing, right? But that was a real aha moment for me, because, you know, when Sting heard what the demo was at the time, which was just, you know, guitars and the chorus or whatever, it spoke to him